Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Modern Warfare 2 beta has arrived and all the pro players get their chance to see whether this game's any good and also what the movement exactly looks like. All this talk over the last couple of weeks about no slide cancel, who's it going to help, who's it going to hurt. Shotzzy, very quickly indeed, has discovered a new way to do it in this game, and apparently there are many such ways where this can happen. Will Infinity Ward crack down and remove it entirely, or will we have another year of button mashing ahead of us? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. So much to discuss today. We'll talk more on Crim6 later on today, but firstly, we've got to talk about the beta. Scump gets in some positive reviews from Scump and the like so far. There are certainly some positive aspects of this game. There's others which maybe are somewhat less positive. We shall see over time. Firstly, just to say this from Hitch real quick, a 10k Cold War throwback tourney potentially coming this Wednesday. Exciting stuff. He actually talked to aBeZy as well, saying, look, did you even play that game, right? Of course, aBeZy and FaZe had a rather decent run on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So yes, a game, of course, where slide cancelling existed, but there was no tactical sprint, slightly more traditional Call of Duty in a sense, but it still had some advanced movement mechanics. We thought this game, okay, it's going to have the dolphin dive, the bunny hop is still viable, but I was quite enjoying watching gameplay with no slide cancel. Turns out that didn't last too long. Whether Infinity Ward crack down and try and remove it entirely, whether they even can remove it entirely, who knows? When sliding is a thing in the game, it's it's probably going to be possible to do something like this. I wonder even if people went back to Call of Duty Ghosts, if they could figure out a way to use the slides in a better way than it is presently being used. Let's dive into the beta then. Of course, Scump was playing it. Firstly, to mention, because if you guys watched yesterday's video on the Sender situation, the possibility of Sender going to the New York Subliners as their assistant coach, that is on the cards right now. And he still does retweet Scump's tweet last night, so I wonder if there's anything there, whether he's actually not going or whether he's going to stay with OpTic, or whether it just means absolutely nothing because he might still be contracted for a short period of time at least. Now look, there are some positive features of Modern Warfare 2. The doors are few and far between. The destructible walls are gone. Bance is kind of joking around saying like, okay, want those back. And look, the gunplay seems okay. The maps are marginally better, I think, than I expected. They are 3-lane in a way, but they're slightly more complicated 3-lane design. I don't really hate it. I think there'll probably be some that are more simple, some that are slightly more complicated, as we see like all the maps. But I think in general, they're quite decent to look at, and I've quite enjoyed watching some of the gameplay on them so far. They're not incredibly bad like maybe I was kind of expecting, to be honest. So there are some positive features about this game, and I think Scump has kind of enjoyed, and other players have enjoyed, going back to a slightly more traditional Call of Duty feel that we've had the last couple of years. That may not last particularly long if the slide cancel stays around in the game, and there seemingly are many different ways you can do it. Some are saying that it will be gone based on mounting potentially being deactivated for competitive, but of course, and also one of the key talking points has been though that, okay, you want the game to play the same in Warzone as you want it to in competitive. So if the slide cancel exists with mounting allowed, but it doesn't without mounting allowed, then all of a sudden you're playing a different game in competitive modes than you are in, let's say, Warzone and stuff. So that's probably not good either. We'll see how it plays out. So another couple of features, a weird feature to be honest, they removed the reload cancel. This has been a thing in Call of Duty forever, where you've got the amount of time it takes for actually like the animation to complete, where you put the kind of magazine back in the weapon, but there's actually the amount of time that you can cancel the reloads where you already get the bullets in your magazine. Now you're not allowed to do that anymore. Once you've started the animation and removed the magazine for the weapon, that is it. You are a sucker until you put that magazine back in, which is definitely interesting, to be honest. The reload cancel is now gone. You can only do it right at the start of the animation. And even this from Charlie Intel saying that when they played the game earlier this year, I suppose, like the red dots on the minimap were enabled, and that was the thing. But they were told at the time this was a bug and not even intended. And like and as Charlie Intel say, to nobody's surprise, wow, the game played quite nicely with the red dots on. Just don't understand why they have to get rid of them. And also like surely casual players, maybe just casual players, don't even look at the minimaps, they don't even notice. But like surely they would like the red dots there, so see what players are. I don't know. I feel like it just makes sense. But Infinity Ward obviously have other ideas. There is a Reddit thread if you guys have feedback and stuff. You can go to the Modern Warfare 2 Reddit. Whether they listen, I don't know, but at least make it constructive, because otherwise they're certainly not going to listen. This is the other talking point then, right, as Hex kind of clarifies the YY cancel reload is now gone, but he does reckon the game is pretty fun. So obviously, look, it's to some extent a honeymoon period. The beta usually is pretty fun because it's a new game. The first few hours are pretty fun. Now look, give it a few months, give it by the time you get to January, February, whether the players still enjoy it to the same extent, who knows. But I think generally there's been some positive reviews and perspective and opinion so far. I think it's a game with a lot of promise, but look, the thing is Infinity will develop it, which does mean that you get a fair few potential concerns for the competitive competitive side of play, and well, slide cancelling is maybe a big one we shall see here in a second. Just to mention though from Kenny, because some people have said that you can't YY, I think you still can to a certain extent. You can still spam it, you just can't necessarily YY kind of, cancelling the reload. But if the YY was to be fully gone, then Kenny might just go God mode, right? Because the only thing that's been holding Kenny back the last couple of years at times has been, well, firstly running an AR rather than an SMG, but also being in a position where, okay, every single time he goes around a corner, he's hitting the YY, he's spamming that button, and then just gets killed because he hasn't got his weapon ready. Maybe that would be a buff if this indeed does go through. Let's dive into slide cancelling though, because a big talking point the last few days has been who's going to benefit, who's going to hurt from slide cancelling being gone. The likes of maybe accuracy and some of the old school players and ARs probably quite happy with slide cancelling being gone, because it creates a game more like, let's say, World War II, where it's kind of difficult if someone's in a power position to really take them out of there. And maybe you can say that's a bad thing, right? Because it makes the game slow down and play slower, but I think that honestly it's like a different type of skill gap. In World War II, the skill gap wasn't necessarily who could shoot the best or aim the straightest, even though that was still part of it. It was more like a team skill gap, right? You've got to set yourself up in a good position. Your positioning on the map is key. Working as a team is key, rather than just, someone's on a head glitch, let me just slide cancel around the corner and beam them off the heady because, I'm going to camera them by coming around the corner first in the slide cancel strange mechanics that is and looks pretty broken from their point of view. So that was one big talking point the last few days, right? And Arcitys is kind of pointing out who's screwed without the slide cancel. And then, very shortly after this, people had already figured out exactly how to do it and many different ways to do it, right? So whether Infinity War can even fix this, that's a big question. Now, some have suggested that the way this is happening is because there's the mounting thing, where if you aim and then knife at the same time, your weapon will kind of mount to surfaces and stuff. Now, apparently you can still do this while you're running around, and just kind of however doing that makes the game confused and cancels the animation where you should slide and then stand up again. It takes quite a while for your gun to come back up. Apparently you can very easily do without that. So here we go then. Shotzzy, it didn't take him long at all to find out a way to slide cancel. His method initially here was the weapon change method, which I don't believe now is the preferred method, but it is one method at the very least. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, this isn't great, but at least we can get away with this, because it's not always viable, right? Okay, if you have to bring out your pistol and then change weapons as you slide, then, it's not going to be viable in every single situation, because you've got to prepare it by pulling your pistol out and stuff like that. So it's one way of doing it, Shotzzy discovered. He also found some other things as well, and people were saying that there's ways where you can dolphin dive and then kind of cancel, because when you dolphin dive, your gun takes a little bit of time to come up so you can shoot. If there's ways to cancel that as well, then you really are talking about an absolute mess of movement mechanics in this game. And yes, there is going to be a skill gap with this, with the movement, right? And I don't really mind that. Players like Shotzzy can do this movement better than, you or I, but also better than some other pro players. There is a movement skill gap in a sense, and it was fun to watch Shotzzy glide around the map, to be honest. But, it is not great for the player's hands, right? I mean, Scump was kind of saying this recently, but, he felt like, and this is what it looks like from Scump's point of view, because from Shotzy's on board, it didn't necessarily look like he was, slide cancelling so much, but Scump, it's pretty clear from his point of view that yes, indeed, this is kind of a traditional slide cancel. But Scump has been like, look, it's hurting my hands, all the amount of actions per minute the Scump has to press on his controller every single game, and it's not helped by the slide cancel. So I wish Infinity Ward would just, look, first of all, we know that the developers that play the games, they don't necessarily have the ability to discover stuff like this in the first place. So they probably thought that his slide cancel was gone. Now, whether they actually commit to trying to fix this, who knows? Or whether they just simply can't or don't know how to fix it, I don't really know. But the frustrating thing from my perspective is if you're going to have a slide cancel, just make it kind of easier to do from a controller perspective. Either it's slides and then it's just ADS, or it's slide and then it's jump on ADS at the same time, or something like that. Mutex comes out with his kind of ideas of how to do it, and you can see his is pretty damn good. He doesn't have to switch weapons. He just comes through and it's a pretty effective slide cancel. What he's doing for this, what he's doing is he's sliding, ADSing, meleeing, and then jumping, right? So all that you've got to do within a fraction of a second, and then you can execute the slide cancel. And you might be doing this all around the map all the time, constantly. It's just not good, to be honest. So I think it needs to go. I would like to see it gone, to be honest. But look at all the different methods people have come up with here. There's this one from CJ where he's kind of going around. It seems like a bit of a shorter one, but he's also found some way to do it. So it doesn't seem quite as good as Mutex's one, but that's the thing. There's just so many different ways about it you could do this, right? I just wanted to share kind of Scump's perspective here, not just on kind of, his point of view from the slide cancelling that we saw, but also his first impressions of the game. He's finds it pretty promising. He's enjoying the game. He feels like it could be his year, of course, all the pro players are going to say. But yeah, Scump's got some optimism about this title, and of course, it's going to be a 2-year game. So if Scump does enjoy it, maybe he stays around for 2 years, not just one, But again, the slide cancelling situation does throw a spanner in the works.
I'm actually loving this now. This is giving me old school vibes. I'm not even lying, I'm not even lying, bro. Look at me just turning on people. I'm not even... it might be my ear, though. I think it actually might be. See that? Snapper. Might be my ear. It might be my ear, chat. I don't know. No slide canceling. You gotta think. You gotta think. Watch this. Head glitch. That's gonna be me all year. Posted. I'm back. For me to be back, I would have had to leave, but I never left, chat. So, like, I'm still here. You know? Yo, is there a nuke in this game?
And even before Crone tweeted this out, this is kind of what I was thinking, right? I was like, okay, this is like a Battlefront 2 kind of, you know, cheat code combination where you've got to up, down, left, right to put in the invisibility glitch or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just exactly the same thing here as Crone kind of points out that in order to do all these different slide cancels, like, I was in Shotzzy's chat watching what people were saying, and people were like, yeah, Shotzzy, you've got a double slide, like, you know, ADS, then double melee, and then, like, press the up button or, you know, YY or whatever the case was to make it work with the slide cancel, and then obviously other people were giving their ideas on how to do it. Like, it's an absolute mess, right? So I wish this mechanic was just gone, but I don't know if Infinity Ward know how to get rid of it, because if the slide is in the game as a mechanic, can they get rid of every possible way to cancel the animation of bringing up your weapon quicker? I don't know if they can. Maybe they can. Like, I guess they were trying to do it, right, going into this game, but they've obviously failed because there are many ways around it, as we have seen. Like, the Mutex one is probably the best right now, as I said. Slide, ADS, melee, jump, all pretty much at the same time, and then it can work, because I think it's the melee and the aiming thing that is like the mounting part, which then cancels the movement. Now, apparently there are other ways, because as Parasite said, without mounting as a mechanic, if that was disabled in the settings, then you can't do it anymore, and there were people kind of playing around with settings, like to actually enable the slide cancel to be easier, but apparently there are other ways around it anyway. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on this, right? Should slide cancelling be back? Should it be here? Because I know a lot of people say, look, it's a good skill gap in the game. People who can do it, they have like an advantage over people who can't, which I totally understand. But I feel like if it is in the game, then it should be made easier than having to button mash like 6 different buttons in half a second in order to make it work, so that it doesn't just destroy the life of some of these guys, right? Because I'm sure Scump for the first couple of hours was having a great time, and then all of a sudden it's like, damn, the slide cancel is back, and all of a sudden I've got to think about, well, how do I actually figure this out again? I was quite looking forward to a game of, you know, just bunny hopping and all this. So look, I'm sure the developers know about this. I'm sure that they've, you know, kind of figured it out. And we even heard people saying that a few days ago, like, okay, look, give Shotzzy a couple of hours on the game and try and figure out, you know, how he's going to be doing this. And then, of course, he's figured it out without too much difficulty, it seems. And others have also found other methods as well. So whether when it comes to the full game release, they'll actually fix this, because I'm sure Infinity Ward is aware of it, right? And they might be trying their best. If that what really was their intention to remove it when the game launched, then you would imagine that they kind of follow through with that intention. But they might just not be able to do it, right? And we might be in for another messy year of competitive play, to say the very least. And just this example, right, of this guy already, like, I mean, look, this guy is probably just looking cracked and isn't really, I mean, look, he's obviously pretty cracked, but you know what I mean? Like, people who kind of shake around and do stuff that actually doesn't do anything, it just makes them look good. I think that's true to an extent here. But also, like, look at the way he's moving around, like, okay, he's sliding around corners, slide cancelling, like, you know, looking like one of these cracked out Warzone kids, to be honest. I mean, look at this gunfight he wins right here. So, I mean, yeah, look, there is obviously ways to abuse the movement in this game already that people have discovered, which is inevitable. But maybe after all the talk from Scump and the like about how he was looking forward to a game with no slide cancel, then, you know, the likes of Shotzzy, Simp, aBeZy, or whatever slide cancel merchants you could argue have been for the last couple of years are still going to be in their element. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us on YouTube, God, this is a good video, and I was like, you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.